We've got Ellen Pompeo here. She's, of course, from Grey's Anatomy, executive producer.
Grey's Anatomy.
Yes. How long have you been doing that show?
15 seasons.
Oh my God.
My goodness. Now, when you guys film this thing, have you had the same dressing room for 15 seasons?
I have a trailer.
Oh, it's just a trailer.
Actually, that's a lie. It's a trailer, but it has not been the same one. We got new trailers probably around season 5.
Right, yeah.
And I redo mine because I'm a fan of interior design, as you know.
I know, yes.
I redo mine every couple of years. I just redid it. I had Jeremiah, Nate Berkus and Jeremiah.
Yes, of
close
course.
friends
Yes,
of mine.
yes.
I had Jeremiah do my trailer and my office this year.
And what lot do you guys shoot on?
On a lot called Prospect Studios.
I don't know where that is.
Which is in Los Feliz, very close to...
Oh, is that where ABC, the soap operas used to be?
It is.
What, General Hospital and all? Yeah,
General Hospital
I know where
is still there.
Yeah.
And American Bandstand.
It's like down the weird street that's like residential,
yeah,
right?
Weird
Yes.
street. Yeah. And that's kind of close to you. I mean, not to give away where you live.
Exactly. I was going to say the same thing.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. It's
that's great.
Yeah, 5 minutes away.
Yeah, especially since you don't have to go over the hill because, for people who don't live in Los Angeles, parking and traffic factor hugely in the choices and decisions you make on a daily basis. Sometimes I will not go to certain places because A, there's no parking, or I have to go over the hill, or I have to go through the Cahuenga Pass for something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you literally have to plan your day. Well, I can't go to the valley at 3 because the traffic is too bad. I have to go at noon. It's true.
Yeah. And I know you're from Boston, but have you always known how to drive a car?
Yes.
Yeah, because a lot of people come here and they don't know how to drive a car in Los Angeles.
After Boston, I moved to Miami, and then I moved to New York City, and I always drove.
You had a car in New York also?
I did have a car in New York also.
It's just expensive.
And I used to live on the West Side Highway down over there by Florent.
Yeah, that's where I live.
And there was plenty of parking down there in the meatpacking district. Back then, it wasn't what it is now.
Right.
And, the only thing you had to worry about was drag queens who wanted my shoes.
Yes, or...
They didn't want my car.
Or the Johns who loved them.
There you go.
Yes. So there was plenty of parking down there.
And what years did you live in New York?
Let's see. I think I lived in Miami from 91 to 94, and then I lived in New York from 95 to 2000.
Did you go to Miami for school?
I went to Miami because all my Queen friends moved down there, and Boston was freezing, and I had no idea what I wanted to do. I graduated high school in 87, and they all moved down there, and they said, come down, and so I went down one winter, and I stayed at the Fontainebleau Hotel.
Oh, good one.
And there was nowhere to work. There was one gay bar.
Wait a minute. There was a few in 91?
In 91, there was like one gay bar.
There was the
Club New.
Warsaw
There was the
Ballroom.
Warsaw-
Then there was
Warsaw
Club New.
Balls.
There was
Yeah.
Club Deco.
Club Deco was around the block. Oh, was that Cameo? Wait a minute.
I know Club New and Club Deco were there. They weren't necessarily gay bars, but they were gay friendly.
Right.
Warsaw was the big one.
Warsaw was.
Well, I was a cocktail waitress by trade in Boston, and there was no straight club for me to work at, right? So I was in the lobby of the Fontainebleau Hotel deciding what to do, and a scorpion walked across my foot. And I thought, I'm out of here. There's nowhere for me to work, and there's scorpions. I'm going home. And I went back to Boston for like 9 months.
Yeah.
The next winter, my friends called me up and said, my friend Desi called me up and said, there is a straight club opening. We have an apartment for you in this building. It was called the Dunya. It was on Collins, right in back of the police station. He said, come back. So I went back, and I got a job at that club.
What club was that?
It was Rebar.
Rebar.
And there was one in New York.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
The brothers, the Dorian brothers owned it. They owned one in New York. And then I worked at a club called Velvet, and then
Yes.
Sinatra Bar.
Yeah. And the Scorpion, you are Scorpio. You're
I
Scorpio.
am. Yes,
and
but I still was afraid of that.
And you
Well, I don't
took
blame
that
you.
as a sign.
I had one walk into my house a couple years ago.
A scorpion.
Front door in
Yeah.
Calabasas, right in.
No.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's a place in Mexico called Quix Mala that I went to with our friend Martin. And it's this beautiful resort outside of Manzanilla. And they have ditches in front of all the guest rooms. and so the scorpions can't get into your room. They will fall in the ditch and they won't be able to get out.
Can't climb.
And the staff of the hotel goes around every night with a blue light.
Yeah.
And they look in the trench.
Right.
And they collect all the scorpions and they put them in a jar and they burn them.
Really?
Yes.
Now, so it's called Quix who?
Quix Mala. Quix Mala. It's Quix.
Do you recommend it?
I do. It's
Scorpion free is what it is.
Yeah.
scorpion free, although not. But it's an amazing wildlife preserve. And at the time when I went with Martin, it was not open to the public. You had to have an invitation to go there.
Quix Mala.
Quix Mala. And now it is open to the public because I saw it as Condé Nast's, like, one of the best resorts of 2018 or something. So I know now it's been open to the public.
What town is it in?
It's Correas.
Cuixmala.
Yes, and there's an Instagram. You can follow on Instagram.
You know, I always want to go on vacation to Mexico. I never do. I but I'm from San Diego, so for growing up in San Diego, I never think to go to Mexico
It's
for
like 5 minutes
vacation
away.
because it was like going home. You
Right.
know, but I always want to find places to go. You know, Rebecca Romaine goes to some place down there. I think the translation is heaven. I think but she says what it is it's this resort that nobody knows about and goes to. I can't remember what the town is, but it sounded really good. Where do you recommend going on vacation to? Now, obviously, a lot of people are listening to us, but what's your favorite place to go to on vacation? You got kids, you have a husband. Do you take the kids with you on vacation?
Yes.
You do?
Rue is so hung up on this. He asks me all the times I bring my kids. They're 16 and 18. One's going to college this year. He's like, you're going to bring them with you? And I'm like, we like to do that.
Yeah, but you live with them. If you're going on vacation, why would you take them with you?
Because we enjoy them.
I simply just do not believe that. I just cannot believe that.
Well, what I do is a couple of things. So this summer, when I break, we did a few things. We took the kids on one vacation to Europe. We took them to Italy and to London.
Nice.
And then we came home. And then Chris and I went to the south of France by ourselves for a week.
I like the way that sounds.
And then we came back, and then we took the kids to New York City and the Bahamas for a month.
How many kids?
3.
3 kids?
Yes.
I met just the one.
You met Stella Luna, yes.
Yes. And are they older or younger than her?
They're younger than her.
Okay.
Yes, I have a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old son.
Oh, my God, Ellen.
Do you know who the fathers are?
Yes, I do. Thank God. Yes.
You do?
Yes, he's very handsome. I'm a fan.
You're a step ahead of me,
Yes,
kid.
yes.
So you're going on these vacations, you work, you have the weekends off, you redesign your trailer, and you're at the same lot. You guys have been there the whole 15 seasons
We
on
have.
the same lot.
Yes.
That's brilliant.
You know, it's not a typical choice for an actor, Rue.
No.
You know, everyone's always sort of chasing the next best thing, chasing trophies. How do I stay hot? How do I stay relevant?
Yeah.
But I started the show when I was 33 years old. And I sort of knew, you know, I've always had the gift of intuition.
Oh, I like that,
Intuition.
though. That's hot.
My husband calls me a witch. And I knew that I wanted to have, you know, a really stable home life. I didn't have a great home life growing up. My mother died when I was young, and I didn't have a great childhood. So I knew that I wanted to have a really happy, although I did not want kids, funny enough. I knew that I wanted to have a really stable home life because I think as an actor, you kind of need that.
Yeah.
Because at some point, the attention and the fame goes away, and then what do you have?
What do you got?
So I knew that it's important to have something real, right? Because fame and attention isn't really real. So I just knew that, you know, I wanted to have a family and I wanted to have some stability in my life. And I wanted my relationship to work and stay. And I didn't want to be traveling and going to this show or that show. And because you never know, you get a job, you don't know where it shoots.
That's right.
You don't know how long you have to live there for. It's a gypsy life.
Yeah.
And I just crave the stability. And it's worked out very well for me.
It really has worked out very well for you. The show's been on for a long time.
Yeah.
You are the highest paid actress on a drama in television.
Yes, I think in network television, I think the girls from Big Little Lies, they don't do nearly as many episodes as I do.
Yeah.
But I think those girls from Big Little Lies are getting $1 million an episode.
Oh my goodness!
Well, there's only like 6 episodes.
Yeah, they have me beat because they don't do as many
Right.
episodes. But I'm very. I've been very fortunate in many ways. I've been fortunate to have women who are more powerful than me support me and show me what's okay to do and what's not okay to do, and I'm trying to pay that forward, and I'm trying to do the same thing for other women.
Yeah, and you've got a production company over at production deal at ABC. What's the Station 19? Is that what it's called?
Yes, that's the Grey's Anatomy spinoff, Station 19. Yes,
and that's you are an executive producer on that.
I am a co-EP.
Okay,
there's a distinction. Yes, there's an EP, co-EP.
Yeah,
producer. Yeah.
Yeah. And so now, did you start out as an actor?
I did. Well, I started out as a hustler.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there you go.
I grew up in Boston. I was kind of, I was raised around a lot of gangsters and a lot of bad guys. And I was, selling vodka slushes outside Fenway Park when I was 14 years old.
Wow.
So, and my mother died when I was young. And so I had a lot of people raise me. And one of my older sisters, all her friends were queens. Mm-hmm. And so, I grew up around all these amazing, creative, fantastical guys who just celebrated me and showed me what true courage is. And true courage is the courage to be yourself.
Yeah.
And so I only have a 12th grade education, but I had the best street education any person could ever have because I learned from so many different types of people, from gangsters, from drag queens, from nuns, I had the most amazing mix of people in my life, and I was lucky enough to take a little bit from everyone.
Now, why does I think of Boston? I think of Catholicism, and I think of
Wahlbergs.
Gangsters. What? What?
The Wahlbergs.
Oh, the Wahlbergs, of course, yes, and then the Wahlbergs and New Kids on the Block. But why is it? Obviously, the Catholicism, but why so much gangster stuff in Boston?
Well, I'll tell you, it's not a myth. It's absolutely true. Yeah. There's the Irish. Well, there was. I don't know about anymore. It's times have really changed. Yeah. But there was at the time when I lived there. There was the Irish mafia and the Italian mafia, and I think that there were immigrants, and they were uneducated, and they came to America, and they had to find their way.
Yeah.
And I think crime was easy. For uneducated.
But Boston has a reputation for being a tough town. It's a
tough
town.
It really is. I don't know about anymore.
Yeah.
I don't go back often, but
when
it
did
is
you
a
leave
very
there?
Tough town. I would say 89, 90 when I moved to Miami.
So when you moved to Miami, were you studying acting when you moved to Miami?
No, I was not.
No.
No.
And so how did the acting come about?
I grew up, it's funny because, so when I was a teenager, everybody, all my friends in school were watching, like, I don't know, Molly Ringwald movies, and I was watching Female Trouble. I had no reference for any of the regular movies that people were watching. I only knew who John Waters was and Crybaby and Hatchet Face and all this. So I had like a completely different frame of reference for everything. But I why? I'm sorry, I forgot your question.
How'd you get into acting? Because you were in Miami.
So I always loved movies, and I always watched movies. And I don't know. My aunt and uncle lived in New York City, and I used to go spend a lot of weekends and summers with them.
What part of town?
In Upper West Side. And I also had an Aunt Maureen who was a nun, who also lived in a convent in the Bronx. And my Uncle Jimmy, who's now passed away, took me to the theater all the time. And he didn't want to pay for my ticket. So what he would do is at intermission, he would just say, go in the theater and stand in the back. No one's going to question an 8-year-old.
Yeah.
So, he's probably right.
And they never did. And I was terrified. but I would go. I would
You only
just
get
he
half
would
the
push me in.
show.
So for like until I was like 14, I only ever saw like the last half of Annie. I saw like the last half of The King and I, the last half of Annie. I had never seen the beginning of any of these shows because he would always shove me in at intermission. So I think I caught the acting bug. My Aunt Ellen, who obviously I'm named after, was Uncle Jimmy's wife, and she's still alive and lives in Boston. And she tells me a story that she took me to see the Rockettes at Radio City Music Hall, and when I was 5 or 6. And I jumped out of my seat and I said, "They're alive! They're alive!" And so I
That
think
would be the second half of Young Frankenstein.
That's when I caught the bug, I guess.
Oh, I love that. I love it. So you're in Miami. You're tending bar or waitress in Miami Beach, and then how did you get back to New York? What happened?
Well, I knew that I wanted to be an actor. You know, when I moved to Miami, I knew that I had aspirations to be an actor, but coming from a working class town, it's not anything I even remotely knew how to approach. So I thought, well, I'm too afraid to move to New York by myself. I don't know anything about Los Angeles or the West Coast. I had no relationship to it at all. New York, at least I had been going since
Sure.
I was a kid, so I felt very comfortable there.
Were you studying in Miami? Studying
No,
acting?
no. I was a cocktail waitress. So I was studying the art of the hustle.
Yes.
Yes, which was very easy to do in Miami because everyone was so fucked up.
Yes.
You know, there were so many drugs and so much drinking. And I'm not really into that stuff. I would just work every night in the club. So I was able to, take all those men for all their drink money.
Yeah, of course. And it's such a transient town, especially I'm sure it still is a transient town because people come in and out from around the world. People were coming in and out of Miami. So the hustle was real and the hustle was deep.
Yes, and all the guys, all the models were down there at that time, and they would have done anything to just be with these models.
Yeah.
So I used to work the VIP room at the clubs, and I would say to the guys, like, I can get a couple of models to come over to your table, but you're going to have to buy 4 bottles of Cristal, and you're going to have to pay me to get into this room. So, and then the models made out because they got to drink free all night, and the guys made out because they got to drink with models. So I guess I was kind of like a pimp.
Yeah.
And then I was saving my money and knew eventually I would have to make a move.
Right.
And I worked in Miami for 4 years as a cocktail waitress. I made a ton of money. I stuffed it all under my mattress, and then I took that and I used that to move to New York City.
Yeah.
So at least I felt comfortable, like I had a little cushion.
And when you moved to New York, did you go to classes, study at HB Studio? Or?
I did. I went to HB Studio, yeah. I had this great teacher. What was his name? I can't remember, but I remember being irritated in the class because I wasn't getting critiqued. It kept telling me how good I was. I was like, this guy's so full of shit. I couldn't possibly be this good. And I'm not going to learn anything with you kissing my ass and telling me how good I am. I think that I thought he wanted to sleep with me or something. I just, I don't know. I didn't feel like I was learning anything. And then I was bartending also. And then an agent approached me while I was bartending, a girl. I thought she was trying to pick me up. She turned out to be a real agent. She sent me on some auditions. I booked an episode of Law and Order fairly soon. And as soon as I did the Law and Order, I was like, oh, I'm not going to learn anything in acting class. I was watching Jerry Orbach and, real actors. And I was like, they're not teaching us in acting class how to hit a mark.
Right.
Where your light is.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything. I was like, acting class doesn't really teach you anything.
Wow.
So I never went back to
In
acting
hindsight,
class.
was it beneficial to go to those classes? I mean, on some level. It was not hitting a mark, but going to those classes, did you learn something there that you still use today?
No.
No, really?
I'm sorry if
Wow.
that's not, yeah.
No, not everybody gets some. And
Yeah, I mean, I, am such I'm a different, I think it's different for everybody. I am a well of emotion because my life started with a trauma. So I have a deep, deep well of emotion.
Yeah.
And I feel things very, very deeply. You're a Scorpio. I'm sure you do too. And I don't know. I have this weird intuition. I feel like I can feel what people feel, and it's just not that hard for me.
Yeah. I'm going to ask you more about that. We're going to go to break. We've got Ellen Pompeo with us. We'll be right back after this.
Style Some of us have it, some of us obviously don't. But just because a sense of style seems elusive for some doesn't mean it's impossible to attain. And there's no time like the present to discover that style that you never knew you had. And you can with a little help from our friends at Stitch Fix. You guys have heard us talk about this before. It's really fantastic. Stitch Fix has reinvented how we find and buy clothes. Just answer some basic questions about your sizes, your favorite styles, your budget, right from your laptop, your smartphone, or your tablet. And then your personal stylist, I know it sounds bougie, but then they spring into action, hand-selecting 5 brand new clothing items just for you. And of course, it sounds like something that only the rich and famous can afford, but you can too. Stitch Fix's styling fee is only $20. $20. It's waived if you keep all 5 items, but $20. And since your personal stylist uses only your preferences to pick your clothes, you are still in complete control. If you're a Virgo control freak like me, that's really important. Once your items arrive, you try them on and you only pay for what you keep. If you don't like something or you need another size, just send the items back. No questions asked. And shipping is always free on both ways. This is fantastic. Get your fix whenever you want or sign up to receive scheduled shipments. The choice is absolutely yours. We love Stitch Fix, and we know you will too. Hurry to stitchfix.com/Rue to get started now. Keep all 5 items in your box and you get 25% off your entire purchase. That's stitchfix.com/Rue, stitchfix.com/RU.
We are back with Ellen Pompeo. You guys know her from Grey's Anatomy, and this woman has just revolutionized television in a way that not just as an actor, but as a businesswoman, because man, I mean, she's, the history books will remember her moment here as a real hustler who has just turned this business into something that has really worked out for you. Now, okay, before we went to break, we were talking about emotions. Now, there's one thing to be emotional, but there's another thing as an actor to give yourself permission to do it in front of 50 people who are part of the union. There's a lighting guy. There's all these people, writers, and all these people. There's another thing to be able to do that. How did you give yourself permission on the set to be so emotional?
It's a great question. I don't know. But I think you'll agree with me that vulnerability is one of the strongest assets we can have.
Absolutely.
And feel the freedom to be vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's cathartic for me because my emotion is so overwhelming. Less now. It was much more, when I was young and I had so much angst and so much to work through. And now that, I have kids and, my heart has sort of been healed. But I was so lucky that I found acting because it was very, very cathartic for me. I found a way to make money from all my pain.
Yeah.
I thought, this is fucking genius.
Is it difficult to live with someone whose emotions are so on the forefront like that?
You'd have to ask my husband.
No, I hear you. I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot of stuff there, So now, do you watch your scenes? Once you do a scene, do you go to the camera, the monitor, and see
The
it?
dailies?
No. We don't really do playback on our show. We don't have the time because we're shooting 8 scenes a day.
Jeez.
So we don't typically, if I'm directing, I'll watch a playback.
Yeah, of yourself
yes,
and of everyone.
Of myself, yeah. But typically we don't do playback.
How do you feel about watching yourself? Are you able to adjust, or do you just critique yourself? What's the result of seeing yourself on television?
Well, I will say now, it's pretty hard to watch myself age on TV. That's not fun at all.
Well, you look great.
Thank you so much. But when I started the show, I looked one way, and it happens to all of us.
15 years
So,
later.
Yeah. I'll tell you that I don't love watching myself. But the biggest thing that resonates with me now is if there's any young people listening, I want them to hear this loud and clear. Realize how beautiful you are. I wish I accepted or I what's the word I'm looking for? I wish I appreciated
Yeah.
how gorgeous I really was.
Yeah, right.
You
right.
know,
Isn't
I
that
was
funny?
so gorgeous.
Yeah.
And this long neck and these delicate features.
Yeah.
And not to sound like an asshole.
No.
But you know, when I look back now, I think, oh my God, I was so delicate and gorgeous, and I was so self-critical.
Yeah.
All I could look at was a scar on my face.
Yeah.
Or, you know, and man, I wish I appreciated how beautiful I was then.
And you have kids too, and it's how do you tell someone to use that tool of appreciation before they lose it? You know what I mean?
Right.
Because I don't know if there's a way to do that. I don't know if is there something someone could have said to you when you were on Law and Order, that first job, that could have helped you understand that then?
No, I think that's another brilliant point you make in question is no, I don't think so. I think, and maybe you'll agree with me, I think that comes with age.
Of course.
With age, you get perspective.
Mm-hmm.
There are certain lessons you just can't learn before 40.
No, you can't.
You know?
And you have daughters and you tell them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And thank God, and that's another thing, you know, I didn't have, you know, certainly I had sisters and aunts and friends, but, you know, I didn't have a lot of people imparting that kind of wisdom to me. I sort of had to learn a lot myself. I will say I have a great friend, Desi, the same guy that I moved to Florida with, who did say to me one day, you know, he used to beat my face and photograph me when I was 18 in Boston, and we used to, you know, watch the Divine movies and everything. And he looked at me one day and he said, "You're going to make an amazing 40-year-old." And I thought, what a weird thing to say.
Right.
And I think of that every single day, and I tell him too. That that always resonated with me. I never forgot it. And not only was he right, but wow, did I use that?
Yeah.
You know. And it's really fueled me.
So I guess the answer to that then is with kids is planting seeds, and hopefully one day some of that will resonate with them when they're able to hear that message and when they're able to act on that message. You plant seeds with kids, you know?
Yeah, and which confidence, I think, with kids is everything. To impart confidence, make them feel confident. That's one thing I never had as a kid. No one was ever telling me how great I was or how talented I was. Or I literally had zero confidence in myself. I was a very skinny kid. You know, I was the only kid in school who didn't have a mother. I mean, everybody had a mother. I was like a complete freak not having a mother. And I was really skinny and awkward, and so I really lacked confidence. So that's like my main focus is to impart confidence to my daughters, to make sure that they know how good they are at things, and I involve them in so many things.
How did your mother die?
She died of an accidental overdose of painkillers. She had a bad back. She was hit by a car and had a lot of surgeries and gave birth to 5 kids and.
Dang.
And where did you were the youngest?
I'm the youngest, yes.
Yeah. So did you get to sort of know about her through your older brothers and sisters?
Not really. It was too painful a situation for everybody. It was kind of just swept under the carpet and was treated as if she kind of never existed.
Wow.
Yeah, my father remarried quite soon after,
Yeah.
way too soon after, and caused even more pain and more damage. So
Has she ever come to you, your mother?
No.
No.
But I do believe she sends people to me. I believe that she sends people to me. Yeah, I believe she sent my husband to me. I believe she sends everything to me.
Wow.
You know?
I remember reading a story about you meeting your husband, like in a grocery store.
Yeah.
Something like that, right?
Yeah. So that's an interesting. So my best friend from home, Patrice, who's a hairdresser, she is. Whether she likes it or not, a medium. You know, she has dreams and she sees things. And she's seen my mother many times in dreams. And her and I were in Whole Foods. She was visiting from Boston. She was doing my hair for a premiere of a movie I was in. And she came out for the week to hang out. We were in Whole Foods. And my husband is also from Boston. And so Patrice and I were in Whole Foods. And Chris, my husband, heard her voice and said, "Patrice, is that you?" And they turned around and they started talking to each other. And I kind of knew who he was because he was I knew him from Boston. I knew of him. We had mutual friends, but I had never been introduced to him. And So they talked and I walked away. And she said, that's so weird that you guys never met. I guess it's because you moved to Miami. But anyway, it's weird that he lives out here now, too. And I said, oh, whatever. Who cares? He's a thug from Boston, and I didn't come to California to be a movie star, to mingle with thugs from Boston. To hell with him.
Yeah.
So I'm too good for that.
Yeah.
So then the next day, I was walking in on the same street on Fairfax and Sunset in the Rite Aid parking lot.
Yeah.
And I hear, hey, Ellen, from behind me. And I thought, oh, Jesus, who's this now? And I turned around and it was him. And he said, it's Chris, remember me from Health Foods yesterday? I said, yeah, how did you know that was me? I had big sunglasses on and a cape, and I had been in a couple of movies, and I thought I was really fabulous. And he said,
how did you know it was me?
I said, how did you know it was me? And he said, well, you turned your back on me yesterday, so I know what you look like from behind.
Of course. Of course.
So
Snap.
I said,
good answer.
snap. Yes, good answer. And then, funny enough, we honestly were just friends for like almost a year. And we were such good friends that I started to have feelings for him. And I didn't want to tell him because I thought he was showing zero signs of being interested in me. He never tried anything on me, nothing, never even batted an eyelash at me. So I thought, well, I can't really, because I'll blow this friendship. He's a great guy, super good friend, and I'll just embarrass myself. So we were out at this club, 40 Deuce, one night, and some director guy came up to me and, was showering me with compliments. And I saw he got very jealous. And so I said, oh,
yeah,
I got him.
Yeah, yeah.
And so then I went out into the parking lot, and he was talking to some girl who was telling him she was a belly dancer. And I went out and rolled my eyes and said, oh, belly dancer, please. And so then we kind of knew it was on. But that was almost a year later.
Wow. And what was he doing out here?
He was working at ICM, the talent agency, working for a music agent, a talent booker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Isn't it funny? When you are open, and you're open to the frequency of the universe, things fall into place. And now here you guys are. How long have you been married?
I've been married 10 years, together 16.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And being open to the frequency of the universe is also something that only with age do you get to.
Yeah.
You talked about my mother. So the first studio movie that I ever did was a movie called Moonlight Mile. And I had similar situation. I had, met Jake Gyllenhaal on the street a few weeks before, and just randomly he sort of gave me a compliment, and I blushed. And
in New York?
In L.A.
In L.A.
And he wasn't a movie star at the time. He had just done a couple of movies, but they hadn't come out yet, so I had no idea who he was. And then a couple weeks later, I got this call from a casting director, Avi Kaufman in New York, who I was friendly with, who said, I need you to read for this movie tomorrow. And I looked at the sides and I was like, I don't think I'm right for this. Closed to the universe. I'm not right for this. Why do you think I'm right for this? I shouldn't audition for this. I'm not a tomboy. And she said, Ellen, just go on the audition. And so I went on the audition and I walked in the room, and who was there was Jake.
Yeah.
And we had this, unbelievable chemistry. And then, so that was like the universe. And then when I went, the movie was shooting in Boston. My first studio movie, What Are the Chances?
Yeah.
Shooting 10 minutes from where I grew up.
Wow.
And when I got to the airport, my driver was there to pick me up. And I got in the car, and he said to me, hey, Ellen, I'm, I'll say Jimmy. And he said, I knew your mom.
Wow.
And I just I was like, what? And he's like, yeah, I went to high school with your mom. And he drove me to work every day for 2 months and told me stories every day about my mom.
Wow.
That's another sign of
her
sending somebody.
And it was then that I sort of started to, say, wow, there's something bigger at work here.
Absolutely.
And when I got the offer for Grey's, I didn't want to do television. Television wasn't cool then. It kind of meant you're not going to make it in the movies, right? So I sort of took it as a diss that they were saying you should do this TV pilot. What do you mean I should do a TV pilot? I've just done all these movies. And my agent said, why are you resisting this?
Yeah.
It's a job. It's an offer. You don't have to audition. why the resistance?
Yeah.
Just take the money and run. These things never go. You'll do the pilot and you'll never see these people again.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, I need to pay my rent anyway.
Wow.
So
Avi Kaufman is a woman?
yes.
I had no idea. I've seen the
Yes.
name for years and years and years. I had no idea.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to take a quick break now. Do we have a little bit more time for? Yeah, producer, he's nodding over there. So yeah, I wanted to ask you about when you talk to young actors. You know, I know a lot of people who say no to everything. Who not just going on an audition, but just in life, just no. What changed for you? When did you finally say, you know what? I'm going to be open to what the universe has for me.
My boss, Shonda Rhimes, wrote a book called The Year of Yes.
Oh, boy. Wow.
And again, like I said, when we started this podcast, I've been blessed with having brilliant women around me in life and being able, and I've had, I guess, the inner wisdom to watch and learn and listen. And I think that I've learned over time. It's taken me a long time. A lot of people are self-saboteurs, especially actors. That's not good enough. I'm better than that. I want to be the lead.
Yeah.
I want to be in movies. Well, I got news for you. If you're that dope, you'll make anything you're in dope.
That's right.
So you'll elevate. If you're that dope, you'll elevate anything you touch.
Yeah.
So what are you so afraid of? You want to be the lead. Okay, so do this. Maybe if you're meant to be a lead, you'll be a lead.
Yeah.
The universe will come get you. It's not the agent's fault. It's not. Everyone likes to blame everybody else.
Right.
Meanwhile, thinking, they're the cock of the walk.
Yeah, sure. How long do you think you'll do this show? Grey's Anatomy's been on 15 seasons.
Yeah, not too much longer, to be honest. Obviously, I can't announce when I'm ending it now.
Yeah.
But, I'd like to end it on a high note.
How many countries are you in?
296.
Oh, stop.
So even if you ended it, it doesn't end. It goes on forever and ever and ever.
We have 319 episodes right now.
Oh, my God.
And I'm signed, my contract is signed through season 16.
Yeah.
So I'm contractually obligated through season 16. If the show does well this year, we will get picked up for another year.
Yeah.
So I'll definitely do that. If the fans stay with us this year and we get another season, then I will definitely do season 16 for sure. After that, I don't know.
And how many episodes have you directed?
Just two.
Just two.
Yes.
Tell me about that. Do you find pleasure in that?
Debbie Allen, who's one of our executive producers, who's also I'm so grateful to have such an icon in my life. She was the one who was like, "You're a director. You need to direct. You're a director." And I said, I don't want to take the time. I'm here enough, Debbie. I spend enough time here. I don't need to be here more. And she said, I really need you to stretch your wings. I really want you to step out of your comfort zone. You really should do it. And it's true. I've been in the same job and, for a long time. And, it is a comfort zone. And there's a lot to be said for stepping out of your comfort zone and doing new things. So I thought, okay, I'll do it. And I did it, and it was a great experience. And I did it again, and it was another great experience. But it is really time-consuming. And
so a lot more preparation you're also in that episode.
You're
directing
the episode,
yourself.
Yeah,
Which
you're
is always the
yourself.
weirdest concept.
Of directing yourself.
Yeah.
Well, I'm super lucky because Debbie, if I'm in a scene, Debbie will come and help me. Debbie's like my mom. She's just amazing, and she's right over my shoulder all the time, ready to catch me if I ever need anything. So
as a director, though, how do you find the right rhythm, the right pace of a scene? I was watching I was obsessed with the TV show The Americans, and the lead guy directed, Matthew Rhys directed a scene, and I could tell an actor directing the scene, he would linger on certain shots a little bit longer than another director might do. Who was there to pull you back to say, you might want to cut there?
Well, that's in the editing, right?
Okay.
So you can shoot whatever you want, and then the editing process. So like the first episode that I directed, Shonda Rhimes she aired my editor's cut, the director's cut,
All right.
which virtually never happens,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
The EPs will always come in and
Here's a
recut
water
the
if you
show.
want. It
Thank
has
you
not
so
been
much.
opened. That one's completely
Thank
fair. Because I wonder. So see, she aired your edit of the show, and how did you intuitively know that it was right? She knew it was right. You knew it was right, or she just said, "I'm going to let you do whatever you want."
Going back to intuition and the universe, my first ever episode of television that I directed was about a mother dying. Was about my sister on the show. She has a different mother than me on the show. And the whole episode was played by LaTonya Jackson.
I
got
wish
really excited
it was
for 2
LaToya
seconds.
Jackson.
Right, no, it was
That would have been
amazing.
brilliant. Play your
10-time Emmy Award winning
Yes.
episode.
That would have been absolutely brilliant. LaToya, you
Agreed.
directing LaToya Jackson. That would be a dream come true for me, actually.
Yeah.
Actually. But
LaTonya
LaTonya
Jackson.
Who is that? Is that
She is married to Sam Jackson.
Samuel Jackson's wife. Yes,
Yeah.
of course.
But she is an acclaimed actress
Yes.
on her own. She's a brilliant stage actress and
Yes.
a wonderful spirit. And I was lucky enough to have her
Yeah.
play my sister's mother in the episode. And the whole episode was her passing.
Mm-hmm.
So intuitively, I just knew what to do.
Yeah.
And I was really inspired creatively. I had just a head full of ideas about what I wanted every single scene to look like, what music I wanted, everything. And Shonda let me have that exactly as I made
Because
it.
Shonda's known for putting a lot of music in her shows. Those songs cost a lot of money, like those Stevie Wonder songs cost. What music did you use? Did you use some already recorded music?
Yeah, they give you a choice of cleared music. So whatever's cleared, you listen to it and then you say, let's try this piece. There's very specific rules in Shondaland about the application of the music. How, the song has to sort of start in one scene and it has to play through the next scene. I can't remember exactly what the rule is now, but there's very specific. Shonda has very specific ideas about the application of the music.
I see.
Genius.
Yeah.
She's a genius, obviously, yeah. And she's a genius in the editing room also, because so much of it is done in the editing room. So much of it is created and built and scenes moved around and stories sort of manipulated in the editing room.
Did you get the bug? Do you want to continue directing?
No, no. I not my show. I did another episode last year, and we had a new showrunner, Krista Vernoff, and I didn't have as much creative control. Krista was with the show for the first 6 years of the show, and then she left to go work for John Wells, and she did Shameless and a few other shows, and then came back to Grey's to run Grey's because Shonda was stepping away to her Netflix deal. So Krista had very strong ideas because she was with the show from the beginning, right? So it was a coming home for her, and she's very passionate and has a lot of strong ideas. So she would say, I want to cut this scene this way, and I want this song over it. I don't like your song. I like this song. And, she's the showrunner. She gets final say, and that's okay. And I'm happy with that. And I just thought, I don't if I don't get to put 100% in my product out, if I don't get to show the audience what, and I don't mean this with any malice,
I get
of course.
it. No, why
but
do
if
it
I
if
don't
you
get
can't?
to
Yeah.
give them my version, my music, my song, my vibe, 100% my vibe, I don't need to be away from my babies.
Right.
To do it. I know I can do it. I did it. So I think directing is super fun, but I'd love to direct a pilot of a show I produce, a different, something brand new. I'd love to do a pilot or, a movie or something new. But to direct an episode of Grey's, I've done it and I know I can do it. And it's not that exciting to me.
What's your relationship like with, not to be obnoxious or rude, but real doctors? Do you have to have a medical staff on team? Do you consult? How does that work?
We do. We have amazing, we have fellows, surgical fellows that come and write on the show or give them story ideas or help us make sure we do things right. So I love doctors. I mean, they're really brilliant. And they're complicated and complex, and they're doing super inappropriate things in surgeries. They're playing fucking heavy metal music while they're cutting open your heart.
Yeah.
They're screaming at nurses. I mean, the stories are, and I had a couple of nannies who were nurses.
Yeah.
And I mean, surgeons are brutal.
Yeah.
They're ruthless. They're abusive. You know, not all of them, but
Yeah.
some of them. And they're really whack jobs, a lot of them, because they're just brainiacs, right?
Yeah.
So I love doctors. I think they're fascinating.
And so you've been in operating rooms. You've seen actual operations. You weren't grossed out by it. No problem.
I mean, so 2 of my children were born via surrogate, so I was in both of those births.
Yeah.
And you know, it's intense to see how casual
Yeah.
doctors are while they're cutting open a chest
Yeah.
or a stomach, or you know, they're talking about the pizza they had the night before, and you're just like, what? Right. And the way they pull on the skin is like something. I don't know if you've watched surgery shows, but the way they pull on the skin and
like-
the way they rip babies out, it's just like, oh my God, you think they're going to rip that baby in half?
Yeah.
The human body is so much more flexible than you think, but then you get why people are so sore the next day, because you have all these metal instruments and they're tugging
Sure.
and pulling, and when they sew you together, it's, you know, it's wild.
Yeah. Yeah.
I could never do it in real life.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's just an interesting thing because you know, I've actually been in an operating room, and I was surprised that I wasn't skeeved out by it. I was surprised that I was able to keep my composure, and actually, it became. It wasn't as a matter of fact. Actually, I had such reverence for what was happening in that room, and that, you know, it's the Scorpio in me took over, and I was like, there is a human body here that is between life and death. It's in sort of purgatory, and it was important for me to respect this thing. And I was actually saying prayers for this one.
Can you talk about the circumstances? Like,
Well,
why
what-
were you in an OR? 'Cause
well-
it's not easy
hold
to
on, no,
it's not
no.
easy to get in an OR.
Well, I'll tell you.
It's not what you think it is.
By the way, Rue has the most perfect nose I've ever seen. I'm sitting here staring at your goddamn nose.
Well, it's been contoured within a life of its.
No, darling.
Yeah.
It's perfect. Anyway.
Well, which leads us into why I have such a perfect nose is that this is my real nose, but I was hosting a television show called Good Work. It was all about plastic surgery. And the other co-host of the show was Dr. Dubrow, who's a plastic surgeon. And we did a segment on our show where I got to come into an operating room and watch him give someone a facelift, which Michelle and I are obsessed with plastic surgery. Michelle's had minimal plastic surgery.
My titties.
And I've had no plastic surgery, but I've had some fillers and some Botox and things like that.
But no surgeries.
But no surgeries. But I was in an operating room to watch someone get a facelift. She got a full facelift, a brow lift, a chin implant, and lots of stuff. And you know, I had to wash my hands for 10 minutes and do the whole thing. And he said, "Listen, if you're going to get sick, make sure you don't point it in the direction of the body. And if you feel like you're going to faint, think to go backwards, not on top of the body." So I didn't know how I'd react. I got in there, and the panic. When I'm in a panic situation, I am calm. And this was a panic situation because this person is between life and death. They're they're
alive.
Well, they're alive, but they are under.
They're just sedated heavily.
They're
Anesthesia,
sedated, but it could go either way at that point. So I was very calm, and he was cutting the skin. It did not skeeve me out at all.
And it doesn't bleed as much as you think.
It doesn't bleed. It
Right.
wasn't bleeding
Yeah.
at all, actually. And he was going under her skin, and he was tightening up some of the muscles. And I got to meet her about 3 weeks later. And he told her that I was praying for her and sending loving, healing energy to her during the operation. And actually, I had everyone sort of say a prayer together to help her heal better. It was beautiful. It was one of the most important moments in my life to witness this beautiful thing. And she did not know I would be in there, but she did come on our television show about 3 weeks later. It took only 3 weeks to heal. Obviously it's going to heal more.
How
but
old was she?
She was 53.
Okay.
She was 53. And I was told years ago, I was told that you're supposed to get your first facelift at 45.
Oh, dear.
Mid facelift.
I'm late.
Really?
And the woman came to our show. She was 53. 3 weeks later, she looked fantastic. And I could tell when he was operating on her that he was doing a good job, because the incisions, the way he lined them up, because he took about a half inch, maybe more, out of her face.
That's it?
Maybe a little bit more,
Yeah.
actually. And I could tell the way he was lining up the incisions and sewing her together that it was good work. That's where
There
the
you
name came
go.
from.
Listen, I have to say, doing this show for this long, and I don't know, there is no such thing as a small surgery.
Right.
Right.
That's right.
It's a ballsy move.
Absolutely.
It's to get yourself put under anesthesia, anything can happen.
That's why I said you're between life and death. You really are.
Anything can go wrong
Yeah.
at any point. Freak things happen all the time.
That's right.
And you literally can die having plastic surgery.
Yeah.
And so it's like, wow, do you really want to risk your life for vanity? And
Yeah.
it's more serious. I think that cosmetic surgery now is taken so lightly. You see all these young kids
Sure.
altering their faces, and it's so disturbing because I think there's like a lightness to it now that people don't, and the doctors are just making money hand over fist,
Yeah.
so they don't
Yeah.
care.
Yeah.
But
It's
it's
willing to take the risk.
Yeah.
Because anything can go wrong when you walk out in the street.
you're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
So chances are, way more than not, things are going to be fine.
Right.
And at the end of the day, they want to look the way they
Yeah.
want to look.
Yeah, but obviously, and there's a fine line between thinking that a surgery will make your life, rainbows and butterflies for the rest of your life, because a lot of people hang vanity on that shelf of that everything's going to be great once I get
When-
this,
yes.
Right,
and that's
yeah.
that's really the problem, because we love plastic surgery, and we haven't gotten to that place
No,
yet.
but we're not far away.
Well, listen, if the problem is I don't have hair out of drag. And when men get facelifts, and we've seen several movie stars who've had facelifts, male facelifts, it doesn't go so well, because women at least have hair and can put makeup on every day. But when you have you thought of doing something?
I'm too scared.
Yeah.
I'm not brave enough.
Because honestly, it's like, there's a couple of factors. One, I am kind of obsessed with death. I think it's because of my job, maybe because my life started with my mother's death, that I think about death a lot. I always think something's going to happen. I never get on a plane and think I'm going to make it to the other side.
Really?
Ever. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I'm kind of a doomsday in that way.
I understand that, though. That's just neurosis.
So, and I'm too scared because I make my living with my face.
Yes.
And with the HD TV now
Oh,
and the
honey.
digital film, every little thing shows.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't put anything. I'm too scared.
Yeah,
To,
yeah.
to do anything to my face.
Because it's going to change the way you look.
It's totally going to change the way you look. I don't see anybody on TV that shoots Botox or does anything that I don't see.
Yeah,
not
me
that
too.
It's not that it
Me
looks bad or
too.
good. You just see it.
You just see it.
You see it. But
and
all-
if it doesn't work for the character,
Yeah, and you can't emote. Your face
Yeah.
has to move, and and I think there's, more than anything, there's a psychological component to. You have to be okay with aging.
Yes.
A little bit.
Yes.
Because you'll
I agree.
lose your fucking mind.
Yeah.
If your looks are what was holding your brain together, you're gonna lose them.
Yeah.
And you're just going to be a mess.
Yeah.
So I think there's something to be said for psychologically being okay with your looks changing.
Absolutely.
It's not easy, but that's not to say I'll never do anything.
Yeah.
I'm really losing my jawline as we speak.
That's the
But,
first thing to go, the neck and the jaw.
I find intermittent fasting and staying off carbs helps that. So,
Yeah, yeah.
you
Well-
know, I will never say never, but right now I will.
Well, a minute ago, and I know we have to go in a minute, but we were talking about getting older and that intuition and learning how to hear what the universe's stage direction is. Something that nobody talks about with getting older is your intuitive prowess, your ability to read the room and get a reading on the landscape. Nobody talks about how well honed that tool becomes as you get older. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, how smart you are.
How
Yeah.
smart you are, how
Yeah.
you can
How-
read the
mhm.
landscape.
Because you've seen so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know how your body, your pH balance, your body reacts to certain situations, how intuition comes into your life. I'm sure as an actor, too, that becomes something that you pay attention to in terms of how emotions come up and how you ride and sort of create artistry using your emotions.
Yeah, I mean, I've become so much more confident. There's a lot of focus on aging and how we look, but no one talks about the benefits, which is that I'm just so worlds apart more confident than I ever was in my 20s or 30s. I do things now that I would have never done. I ask people for things I would have never asked for. I know how to come in and handle a situation. I know how to confront someone, peacefully and thoughtfully, and express how I feel and express things in an adult way that I would have never had the confidence to do before. I have the confidence now to be myself and to be truthful and to which is something that you don't have when you're young.
Yeah, you don't have. They say youth is wasted on the young, and
it's true. How amazing would it be if we could look like that and know what we know?
I know. It's crazy. Well, Ellen Pompeo, thank you so much for joining us. They're calling us back to the judges' table right now, but everyone's going to enjoy hearing you talk about your life and your journey, and we're so proud of you that you have had the courage to do your thing and to be this pillar in a business that is not known for lifting women up. Here you are, this really successful, talented woman who is bringing other women up with you. And it's just really, not only is it admirable, but you are a hustling hero. And we love that.
Thank you, Ru. I love you.
Thank you, baby.
so much.
I love you back.
Until next
time.
time. Bye.
Can I get an amen? If you can't love yourself, how in the hell you gonna love somebody else? Can I get an amen?
And don't forget to subscribe on iTunes.
If you can't love yourself, how in the hell you gonna love somebody else? Amen.